One of the most beautiful parts of Hefsureti Sakartvelo, once full of blood and famous with its wars, today almost emptied and revenged, once full of life and today abandoned. The people are leaving the old land, villages are abandoned due to unbearable conditions, and time after time the tracks of the past life are lost. The desperation is reigning in abandoned villages, the graves and partly collapsed towers, and wrapped in mass. Who knows how many secrets do these towers keep, how many things they can tell us, but they are silent as those stones which are the part of these towers, and amaze us with their remained notes. What information do these notes keep? Who has engraved them, or why are they dispersed so disorderly? Who knows, maybe these stones are part of the ancient civilization existing at the Caucasian territory that is forgotten due to the several reasons.
მაქრობთან დაკავშირებით ჩემი დაინტერესება დაიწყო სრულიად შემთხვევით ინგუშეთში ყოფნის დროს.
My interest towards the science at first began in 80s, during the period when I was in Ingushetia, and suddenly saw them.
შემდეგ ჩეჩნეთში
On my visit in village Bulari, I saw the stones with crosses. Then I found the same marks in the castle of Chechnya. According to the residents of that place, these castles were built by Georgians. Later I continued my searching in Hefsureti, Ahmati and Gudani's churches, and fixed the same marks.
მაგრამ ყველაზე მეტად ეს იყო სადღაც 86-87-88 წლები, როდესაც სულიად შემთხვევით აღმოჩნდი სხვა რაღაც საქმეზე ანკარაში.
During my visit in Ankara in 86-88, I met French specialists who were interested in cryptogram existing in the area of Phrygia. When I showed them the photos of signs found in Ahmati's church, they expressed an opinion that it was the old type of Iberian cryptogram, and they had no information about that and got interested. After that, I intensively began seeking these stones and collecting information on them. This science belongs to Georgian ethnics, that is confirmed by the ornaments still found in Hefsureti, which is identical to the marks on these stones. As it is shown, people had forgotten about the meaning of these marks and transformed them in everyday life and art. Who knows how these witnesses of the past have erased in Hefsureti, or maybe vice versa, exactly from here they have spread to the whole world. Maybe these mysterious notes were engraved by those ancestors who had been protecting the motherland so desperately. It is interesting why nobody ever gave any attention to these strange notes up to date. Why they were used without first meaning? Why do we see them as the walls of the houses or the towers? Who and why these marks were engraved at these stones, and what do they want to tell us?
ეს მასალა მივიწყებული იყო რაღაცა გარკვეულწილად ცნობილი.
This material was partly known, but forgotten. Unfortunately, nobody paid certain attention to it. The very marks which were found on the area of Hefsureti, we come across them in France and England. There is a research of famous scientist Düringer we come across in Palestine, in Egyptian hieroglyphs. Especially, I paid my attention on some signs, which have the same form and shape of Old Georgian graphons and Old Georgian letters. It is known that in old period, idea was expressed by paintings. Later comes in use signs like cryptograms. Next stage is conform characters, and then comes alphabetic characters. Such signs are found in different areas of Georgia, especially crosses, which have dots in the corner. In that case, a great importance has the theory about the ethnic genesis of Georgian nation, written by Simon Janashi. He says that area of Eurasia was settled by Hittite Iberian ancestry of people. He shares the opinion of the likeness of ours and resident of East, ours and resident of West. The examples for that is shown between Basques and us. This is a great cultural and relational connections. Actually, this science emphasizes that it is possible to reverse theory of Georgian tribes migration, on which was writing Professor Ivan Jalahishvili. It is impossible to study this issue indifferently. It will be a serious task if the specialist will start to research and study the likeness of this science discovered in Hefsureti or Crete, Mykenna, Etruscan, or with cryptograms of other civilizations. Is there any link between these marks and ancient civilizations already known to us? Is this the track of any of them? Or we have here some other unknown civilization that has come to us only through these fragments? In any way, the resemblance with Sumer, Hathor, Mykenor, Etruscal, and other civilizations, hieroglyphs is clear, and how fantastic it may seem, there is a resemblance with South American Indies hieroglyphs. It gives us hand to think that here, as the Caucasian territory, once in the deep past, the strong civilization existed. The thing is what it was and who were its owners. Discovered signs in Georgian highland is not only in the area of Hefsureti. The same card signs are also found in different parts of Georgia, especially in South Georgia. Such kind of prescription is historiography, more exactly in prescription science. It is known as a pictography. Such device of prescription is used from the old period. It was also known from the antique period, and is clearly expressed in people's lives, who had not created prescriptions themselves. To my mind, the signs which are found in Hefsureti are the obvious examples of the old descriptive prescription. We find the same examples in Alaska, Maya Strip, Etruscans, and in other great pre-prescribed civilizations. The basic principle of this action is that they expressed a certain content by images. Basically, this was religious and magic content, which was connected with any cult. For example, soldiers' images are discovered in Alaska, which are probably performed before war, and these figures are the same as those which are found in Hefsureti. At dawn of the human beings, the art created at the walls or caves will still keep amazing the society. At those very places that Homo sapiens has assimilated from the ancient times, we often see the pictures expressing the ideas. Afterwards, together with the society development process, the similar art has obtained magic meaning. In pagan Georgia, we often meet such art that is certified by lots of ethnological materials. It is some years that I have got acquainted with those signs. I will call them art. Those are fragments of paintings on the stone, which has the obvious likeness to the paintings of the Swannian walls, so-called Lipanon. The paintings of Swannian walls was basically studied by the professor Vera Burdavelidze. This painting was over in January and was the ceremony of Spirits Feast. We discovered the same image there as it is in Hefsureti. This is a man, a horse, a soldier, wild animals, stars, sun, trees, fish and others, what is needed for the family. They are obvious magic images. Spirits look at them and they have to aging plenty of those things which are expressed there. Major part of scientists think that this is the oldest prescription on the Georgian area, as they are unusually like to some of Georgian letters and figures. It is also like to Etruscan, Mycona and Crete-Iberian letter and figures. Also, I think that it is necessary to collect, classify and study all signs which are found in Hefsureti and other parts of Georgia. After that we can say freely to what the matter deals with. It would be good if it would be related to the early Georgian prescription. Not only studying of that, but history is also interesting. How it had reached up to date, who put them so indirectly into the walls of castle, where it had been before, on what place, because these stones are obviously used secondly in Hefsureti. When we come across to them in the castle wall, it is obvious that they are used for designing the face of the castle, as in the case of house and other buildings. But in spite of everything, it is obvious that it deals with an interesting discovery, on which will be interested all specialists and non-specialists. The resemblance between the marks found in Svanetian and Hefsuretian art is so clear that their common origin is without doubt. It's pity that no one has ever tried to study them together. In 60s, ethnologists paid attention to the prescription on the stones. When Professor Vera Burdavelidze was working on spiritual culture and was fixing icons and prescriptions in the church, she saw the image on the stones in Hachmata. I remember that she even published a letter about that, but she didn't continue working on that theme anymore. We found such style examples not only on the stones, but also on the trees, materials and clay. There existed a special kind of chisel to create such ornaments. We considered that these signs were related to the spiritual culture, as we find these ornaments in the interior of the house. Basically on the essential part or as a hearse. Especially I want to denominate that these signs were also used in Ulcer, in cattle breeding to mark the cow. Also in baking bread, they made the same signs on bread. Actually, I want to pay my special attention to those which I have met in the last period. In 17th of last century, during New Year period, Svanyan housewives made the same paintings, where you could see the figures of people, animals and various geometrical figures, by which we are related to the cult of dead person, the same as Lipanel. After that, Lipanel art became especially important, which turned out to be the unique archaeological material in Çatalhöyük resident. According to the old chronology, it belongs to the 7th century. Here was found identical figures of people, animals, rectilinear figures and etc. It is interesting that the famous Russian academic Tolstoy expressed his opinion on the Lipanel image, that these paintings could become one of the bases of explantation of those prescriptions which are represented on the stones, especially on the walls, not only in the Caucasus, also out of Caucasus. Aluda Ketilauri is a man smiled on by fate. In village assemblies he sits at the head. His words when he speaks are to the point. He has proven his sharp-edged saber and hacked many Chechen ring hands off. The bad man has no need to fight. The good man can always meet the foe. The depiction of hand had a great feeling in Georgia. Not to mention words formed from hand. Open hand was a symbol of power, which is shown on the stele of 12th, 13th centuries. It is not by occasion that raising hand belongs to that document. The same diplomatic terms, which are connected with hand and is shown in the Georgian prescription of 9th-10th centuries. Hand is the symbol of ancestral of Bagration. To say it more better is a part of royal sign, and we often come across signs on the coins too. The same sign was also used on the court of Kiev, and because of that it is considered of the royal sign, and not only ancestral armory of Bagration. Such kind of signs are found in many countries, and among them is discovered scraps or carved signs in Hafsureti. It is not probable that hand had the determined meaning in Hafsureti. Hafsurians kept cut arm of enemy and gave the ceremonies the great importance. Vittorio De Silla made a film according to the fact of cutting right hand on belfry of Ushnurian country, where is the tense of bear's paw cut in wrist. This is also magic action, which is probably connected with hunting and overpowering an enemy. It is a famous fact that a man going to the war was leaving a certain symbol. The determined sign of hand found in Hafsureti could have the same meaning. In the old Georgian law, hand had the determined function, but I have adopted that the mark of the hand had the same meaning and function as in Hafsureti, and generally in mountain districts, as well as in the plain. Where this mark was connected with royal symbol was considered to be the king's belongings. The matter here deals with magic or powerful signs, which is more like to the ceremony held by a person. It's clear that these marks found at the stones has links to the ancient tradition of Hafsureti, cutting the arms to the enemies. This tradition is typical to the other Caucasian people, that in one more certification of united ancient civilization existence. Nowadays the materials that we possess are too few to study the issue entirely. It's important to find and classify all the similar ideograms existing as a Caucasian territory that will give a hand to the science in future. It is indispensable to make a special informational bank where will be gathered all such kind of materials which have been found on the area of Georgia, to make a perfect ideate for the scientists and make the subject studied on the world level. It is enough for specialists and non-specialists to study this material on the surface, which really makes impressions on them. There are obvious contacts, which are expressed between Georgia and other surrounding civilizations. These materials need to be collected and studied on the international level. It's clear that we are facing some huge discovery, and the World Science Society must be mobilized to study this phenomenon, to search the parallels and to solve the mysteries those stones keep. Maybe exactly here, as a Caucasian territory, many answers can be found that world scientists research in vain for many years. We have said our word as we could. Now it's the scientists' turn. They must manage to open this mysterious door that made write new page in Georgian and world history as well.